Welcome to this week's episode of Biz Success in 15, where top experts share hot tips and strategies that you can implement in as little as 15 minutes to build your dream business. And now here's your host, the Visibility Wiz, Cindy J.
Hi, I'm Cindy J, the Visibility Wiz, and welcome to this episode of Biz Success in 15, where top experts share hot tips and strategies that you can implement in 15 minutes or less to build your business. Today, our guest is Jeannette, and Jeannette is a master certified coach and founder of Good Vibe University. She's a full-time manifesting geek on a mission to inspire conscious creators. Her body of work focuses exclusively on law of attraction and includes blog posts, ebooks, group calls, interviews, training fellow coaches, and occasional speaking gigs. Welcome, Jeannette. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having me, Cindy J. I'm excited to play with you today.
Yes, I'm really excited to play with you too and talk about law of attraction, one of my favorite subjects.
That's my favorite thing.
And to begin with, can you share a personal or business challenge that you had to overcome in order to achieve your level of success?
Yeah, boy, I think this is a common one for a lot of people, but right out of the gate, once I've made the commitment to grow a coaching practice based on law of attraction coaching, I had fears and doubts. I had worries. I had anxieties. I don't call it, I'd been trained to call it gremlin thoughts.
Right.
Just that fearful part of myself that kept telling me this isn't going to work. You're going to have to get a job. What were you thinking? This was crazy. A lot of those thoughts that we know could get in the way of our success if they run unimpeded. Like if that's who's driving the train, we're not going to good places. So right off the bat, I got a lot of practice in how to redirect those thoughts when I would notice them. And very often the way I would notice them was a pit of fear in my stomach. Like I would get a physical sensation that alerted me, you're thinking something very unhelpful. And I learned to pay better attention so that as soon as the thought started, I could redirect immediately before it got much traction. But I just used affirmations to practice that redirection. In fact, I love the way Tony Robbins talks about this. He tells a story about how when he was at race car driving school and they were teaching them how to control a skid, because they said if you spend any time on the racetrack, sooner or later your car will experience a skid. You've got to know how to handle it. And the instructor, when they were in the classroom, was teaching them that your natural instinct is going to be look at the wall, but whatever you do, do not look at the wall because you have to look at the track. The car will go wherever you're looking. Tony laughs his instructors off and says, oh, I actually teach this to people for a living. I know all about this. No worries. They get out on the track. They go around. When he's not expecting it, his instructor initiates the skid. And Tony said, he's like a deer in the headlights looking straight at the wall. He did not just turn off. And he said, it's like I wanted to see the death happen. And his instructor had to physically reach over and turn his head to look at the track. Right. And that's all I was doing with my own self. When those gremlin thoughts were, this isn't going to work, you're going to have to get a job, that's me looking at the wall. And the way I redirected my attention was through an affirmation. And I used the one that said, I said, no, that's not what I'm creating. What I'm creating is, and I would repeat, I've got goosebumps just even thinking about this. I would say, I am a brilliant coach in high demand. And that was it. That's all I did to help dial off of the negative thoughts so I didn't have momentum happening there and instead plug into a different vibration that required a different reality to manifest for me.
Right.
I used that one so consistently with so much success that to this day, I use a really powerful I am statement before I start every workday.
Mm-hmm. And I am statements, a lot of people say they don't work. So why do they seem to work for some people like you and not others?
Well, I think it is possible to use words that we don't connect with. You might be familiar with Florence Scovel Shinn's teachings about finding the words that click. Mm-hmm. If we try to say something that is either too far a stretch, now that's not because at the time when I said I'm a brilliant coach in high demand, and I didn't even have a single prospect, let alone a paying client. That was a big stretch. But I knew I had a strong enough foundation in conscious creation that I knew if I say something long enough, it has to become true. I'd done it too many other times in too many other ways. So I had a confidence in it that if I just keep looking at the track, then that's where I'm going. So
adding the feeling into it. So whenever you were saying it, you were looking at the track, you was feeling into
yes.
being a brilliant coach in high demand.
Do you remember the opening of What About Bob, where Bill Murray, in the opening scene, he's walking around his New York apartment and he's rubbing his temple and he's repeating, oh, what is he saying? Something like, I feel good, I feel fine. And he's repeating it over and over. And you can tell this guy does not feel good or fine.
Right.
He's saying the words and he's making a joke of it. But I think of that because it is possible to say the words without making that emotional connection. And that's why Florence says, find the words that click. You want to find what actually shifts you out of fear and into confidence or into success or something. And people use other techniques. I do really well with words, whether they're written or spoken, but other people do better with visualizations or other manifesting techniques, but the words have always worked well for me.
When I first started using affirmations, the first thing I ran into was Noah St. John with his affirmations, which is just questions. Are you familiar with Noah St. John?
Oh, it's practically every password I have.
Yeah, and so that helped me so much too, asking me the questions. Why am I a brilliant coach? Because I always say all the little worker bees in my mind started answering that question for me.
That's fun. And for people who have not had great results with affirmations, that little tweak can make all the difference. That's a powerful one. In fact, Access Consciousness uses something similar. How does it get better than this? I love that question for a variety of reasons, but yeah, that's fun. So that was a major strategy to learn how to tame those gremlins, because they were not taking me to good places if I let them be in charge.
Exactly. And so many of the gremlins is what's running our lives and running our businesses. So what tips and tricks do you even get for people to become aware of
how it feels? That's the thing. Here I was waiting till I had a pit of fear in my stomach. I could have picked it up sooner than that if I just had the self-awareness to listen to my self-talk. Right. So if we can start tuning into what we're replaying, that will help. But if nothing else, how you feel is a pretty big indicator. So if you have some mild anxiety, or if you feel dread, or if there's some nervousness or that's a clue you're thinking something that doesn't help. So being willing to tune into how you feel emotionally helps. But if you skip it there, it will continue long enough that you'll eventually feel it in your physical self, like a headache or tense shoulders or illness, a cold, a migraine, the flu, or something worse. But if we learn to catch it early, just by paying attention to what we're thinking, not getting obsessive about it, but just tuning in every once in a while, like, am I thinking of thought that feels good, or is it taking me somewhere I don't want to go?
Right. And that's always key. It's like just feeling good. What can we do to feel good? We can always switch that channel to feel good, regardless what the circumstance is, just by, I love doing gratitude. So I'll just say, what are 10 things I can be thankful for right now?
That's a powerful practice.
Yeah.
And it really is that simple. Just pay attention to find a way to feel better. If that's all we practiced, we're on the path to success.
Yeah. And also, one of the things that I used to share with my clients, I still do, is if you're really having a difficult time, get a picture of something you love, whether it be your kid, your baby, your grandkid, a pet, and every time you start feeling down, just sit there and look at that picture and how much you love that person, because you can't feel love and fear at the same time.
That's a really good tip.
And I know one of your blog posts that really popped out at me is that there's no such thing as wasted time. And so many of us think we waste time if we're watching TV or soaking in the bath or all kinds of different things. So why is there no such thing as wasted time?
I think for a variety of reasons. Yesterday, I was texting a friend. In fact, I just did a blog post on this subject too. He said, what are you doing? I said, I'm getting ready to have a really productive hour. And he said, okay, I'll talk. I get the hint. I'll talk to you later. And he checked in later and he said, so were you productive? And I said, I'm learning 4 different ways to pronounce the Spanish consonant G. And he's like, no, not productive. And I was like, no, it's incredibly productive because I was loving it. I was enjoying it. When it's true, when I said I was going to have a productive hour, I meant something, I had something else in mind, but there's no such thing as wasted time if we're having a good time. because nothing is more important than that we feel good. I know Wayne Dyer learned that from Abraham, but I first heard it from Wayne, and it really is that simple. So if I'm engaging anything that I enjoy, I am on the path to success, because vibrationally we know that's what matters. It doesn't matter what we do, it matters how we feel. So if I'm doing something that feels good, as long as I know better than to believe that this is going to spoil my success, or this is going to hold me back because I didn't get X, Y, or Z done, as long as I know that my time is well spent in enjoyment, then yes, learning to speak Spanish is good for my business.
Right. And what about if you're not feeling good? You know,
if you feel guilty.
Yeah, if you feel guilty or something, then how is that?
Well, feeling guilty doesn't feel good. So when someone says, oh, but no, I can't just, feeling good doesn't work because of, well, if you feel guilty about feeling good, you don't actually feel good. You're feeling guilty instead of good.
Exactly. And what I'm saying though is, if there's no waste, whenever you were talking about wasted time, you said any time that you feel good is not wasted. So if you're not feeling good, is that time wasted? If so, why?
No. Okay. So here's the other way that serves us. It's contrast. That's where desire comes from. And without desire, life doesn't get better. So even if we are having a terrible time, and I was writing that post about there's no such thing as wasted time for people who felt like, oh, I spent a year in this program and it didn't do anything for my business or whatever. You know what? That the contrast, the don't want, that inspired you to stronger desire. And that will serve you when we eventually let go of the contrast, when we come into alignment by feeling better, by feeling good. So even that time it serves us. This whole party doesn't work without fresh desire. And that comes from experiencing what we don't want. So even that serves us.
I have a question I get a whole lot, and I'd love to hear your answer from it.
Sure.
Which social media platform should I start with? I just don't know where to start, and I don't want to waste my time.
I love that question, because there's a belief behind that question that there's one answer, but the answer is whatever you enjoy the most. Whatever you enjoy the most. The question I always get is, what manifesting technique works best? You know what? It's the one that you use. It's the one that you actually use.
Right.
That's what works best. So the answer, I coach coaches as well about, where to spend their time. And it's whatever you have the most fun with. And if you don't have fun with social media, don't waste your time, because it won't serve you.
That's very similar to my answer. So
yeah, right. I found that people who aren't having fun with social media in any way, shape, or form, they're buying into some beliefs about how they're supposed to use it that's spoiling their good time. And if you just free yourself of those, I think it's easy to enjoy any of them. But but I personally, I spend a lot of time on Facebook still. I haven't found my Instagram love. I left my Twitter love for Facebook years ago. But it doesn't matter. It only matters where we're going to have the best time. My business partner loves Twitter, and she turned me on to Pinterest many years ago and had a great time there for a while until I didn't. So just go where you love it, because the love is what matters, not the platform.
Exactly. I love that. Thank you. And I know that you have a unique twist whenever you teach law of attraction. You intermix it with astrology. So how does astrology and law of attraction intertwine?
I don't always bring up astrology, because I have some clients that's not their idea of a good time. But for those who do, they are often surprised to know that these can go together, because a lot of people, the way they learned astrology was like, we're reading our destiny, that's written out for us in advance. And we're getting clues as to what's going to happen when we learn to interpret the lineup. No, I don't see it that way. Some do, I don't. My business partner doesn't. She's the astrology expert. I'm just I love astrology. She knows it inside and out, Kim Falconer. And the way I interpret it is that everything is energy. Everything is energy. The house we live in, there's an energy happening here. The people we interact with, there's an energy happening there. The stars have an energy as well. And when we learn what that energy is, and we learn how to leverage it for our benefit, I get really excited about what's possible there. But I'm going to be honest with you, Cindy, my favorite thing about astrology is the access that it gave me to self-love. I've got goosebumps right now, because learning to study my natal chart, I learned things about myself that I had maybe been feeling judgmental or critical of before, that when I saw it in a different light, like through my astrological blueprint, it made me, I just felt a reverence for myself that I hadn't known before. So it just opened a door to self-love that I still continue to experience as I learn new things about how things are lined up. It just feels like a treasure map of myself that I get to explore and appreciate in ways that I hadn't tapped appreciation for myself before.
That's beautiful. Very beautiful.
But I want to say that there are some people who do, even LOA savvy people who use astrology in a way that isn't very helpful. Like when we know it's Mercury retrograde, and so we expect for things to go wrong because everyone, communications, electronics, travel, it's all bad when Mercury goes retrograde. And the way I actually met my business partner was writing a blog post saying, don't let your astrology mess up your manifesting. If you interpret anything negative in your stars, you're not seeing it accurately. Because it doesn't ever tell us anything negative. And if someone tells you that, they're just not seeing it the way that source would see it. There's a better perspective that will serve you. And when you find that, then I think we're just enhancing our energetic alignment.
Exactly. And I love that because there's always two ways to look at something. Always.
Yeah.
Yes. That's great. Thank you. And Jeannette, can you share a strategy with our listeners that they can implement in 15 minutes or less to build their business?
Yeah, I think one of my favorite ones to share, I'd be hard pressed to say something I like more than this. Ooh, I just thought of two other things while I said that. But the one I'll share is practice your success in advance of it. Like before you have the wins that you want, whether it's the money or the clients or the reviews or the audience or whatever it is, practice what that feels like in advance, because when you know that vibration, your success is inevitable. It will come faster. It will come easier. You'll enjoy it more once it arrives. And whether you practice that by just imagining it, a visualization. I don't think I'd even spend 15 minutes on it. I'd probably spend 5 minutes on it. But you know me, I like to use the words. So if I just ask myself, what would I say when I have what I want? What would I be saying? Okay, I hope it's okay to swear a little, because one of the things that this one was by accident, but I was like, whoa, that's a cool affirmation. I pulled up my account one day and I was astonished at how much money was in there. And I was like, holy shit, I make a lot of money. And I was like, that's my new affirmation. I love it. Because that vibration, those words were authentic. They clicked for me. They wouldn't click for someone else necessarily. I can't use pay style affirmations, but that lingo, that sounds authentic. So by just being willing to say that, even before you've experienced it, that's whether you say it or you see it or you're feeling it, activating the vibration. There's so many fun ways to do it, but that's my tip. It's practice your success in advance. Instead of answering the phone to someone who I hope this is going to be good news. I hope it's a prospective client. I hope this is something good for my business. Practice answering like someone who's already having a really good time, enjoying a lot of success. As you're walking down the street, as you're ordering your food, as you're stopping at the red light, practice doing it as someone who's already living the level of success that you want, because that is a vibration shifter and that's a game changer.
That's great. And if you want to, you can share one more.
Oh, well, okay. So look, a lot of people don't understand that receiving skills matter. Like there's a thing about how good do you know how to let life be to you? And people might be familiar with this experience where it looks like something good is coming. It's really close. You can almost reach out and touch it, and then poof, it's gone. Or maybe it does arrive, but it's out the back door as quick as it was in the front door. Like we get a big sum of surprise money, but then a surprise expense comes up and it's gone just as fast. That can be a sign that we've reached our limits of allowing, of how good we're willing to let life be. It's why lottery winners burn through their money like that. Sometimes, not all the time. But that's why I think it's worth paying attention to our ability to receive, to let life be good to us. So many of us, we've been trained through our lives on how to be good givers, and we don't get training. We don't value how to be good receivers. So practicing that as well. Like some people they can't even receive a compliment well, let alone a huge professional win. So finding a way to get used to that, to acclimate yourself to letting life be that good to you. I think that's something worth practicing, because a lot of people, they dismiss it. They're like, trust me, Jeannette, I'm going to have no problem reveling in success once it gets here. But the way that it gets there is that you You get yourself used to it. You acclimate to it. It's something that you expect. I like that reminder from Abraham that says, you know, if you're practicing your success and thinking you're going to be bouncing off the walls with excitement, you're not actually aligned to it, because it'll only happen when it's the next logical step. So you want to practice it enough so that when it happens, it's like, of course, I was expecting you.
Right. And also, even just going with gratitude, and you're saying how some people can't accept a compliment. And when a compliment is a gift from another person. So that would be like, you know, if I said, hey, Jeannette, I love your hair. And you said, oh, I hate it. You're rejecting my gift.
Exactly. and we do that. We do that in life so often. Like when people offer help, oh, hey, do you need a little help with that? And you're like, oh, no, I got it. Yeah. You know what? Just for the practice, say yes, even if you really can't do it yourself. Like when the grocery clerk says, oh, did you find everything okay? I try and think of something. What could I have? What could I ask them for?
Exactly. And be thankful. Like, you know, it took me a long time. I really had a hard time accepting compliments for years. But it's just like saying thank you and accepting that gift, because otherwise you're making the other person feel bad. And if you can't accept a simple compliment from another person, how can you accept the great gifts from the universe?
Right. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And a lot of people don't realize that that's their disconnect in their alignment. Closing that gap will do a lot for letting good things happen in their business.
And even if like, hey, I take you out, you know, we go out to lunch, I go, hey, I'll pick up the tab for you. Then you be thankful that I picked up the tab, and hey, that's extra money. Thank you, universe, for this extra money. And, you know, finding a penny on the ground. Yay, I have a penny. Because these are all gifts.
Right. My dad and I, we used to argue at lunch over whose turn it was to buy, but now we both learned this. So his line is, I graciously accept this gift.
Yeah, exactly. And whoever says it first is, yes, I accept it. Thank you very much.
It's good to get good at receiving. We're so good at giving. Receiving, we could use some more skills.
Especially I think as women, we were really, for eons of years, we're raised or taught that we're supposed to give. And so
especially moms.
Yeah. So whenever you start receiving, then it opens up a whole new world to you, and then you can actually give more to others.
You know, and for some people who feel uncomfortable receiving, that's a sign that you need this work more than anyone else. Someone who's so used to, you know, doing for others that letting someone do for them makes them feel uncomfortable or guilty. Oh, I'd get to work on that.
Right.
That's the universe.
And gosh, I could talk to you all day long and then some. And so Jeannette, I know that you have a wonderful gift for our community. Can you share a little bit about it?
Yeah, I think it could apply to anyone who's interested in using their powers to create the reality they want. But 10 remedies for the manifesting sabotage we often engage. I think that there's even just one of those tips. If only one thing resonated, it can make a big difference in your game. But I've got 10 that I commonly see in my clients. So it can do a lot to shorten your learning curve in how to allow what you want to happen in life.
Yes, and accept those gifts. I love it. So you want to head on over to bizsuccessin15.com/JM. So it's Jeanette's initials, JM, both lowercase, and grab your 10 ways that we sabotage alignment and how to remedy it, so that you can start being a powerful manifester to what you want to receive. And you'll also be able to re-listen to Jeanette's words of wisdom and download this episode. And Jeannette, do you have any parting words for our listeners?
I just think that sometimes we can get a little bit serious when it comes to our business. I know I was. It felt like a big deal. It generated a lot of fear. What I wish I knew then that I know now is that it's worth having a good time, finding a way to enjoy it, not be stressed out about it. Don't make it such a big deal. That actually works better, to relax a little, have some fun, goof off a little. It works.
And, you know, I love that, goof off, have fun. I was a divorce coach for years before I became the Visibility Wiz. And in divorce coaching, it's a serious subject. So I couldn't 100% interject to my humor or be me. And I have so much fun being the Visibility Wiz because I can be crazy. I can let people see the silly side of me, and they're not thinking, you know, they're not
being so disrespectful, so irreverent, or
Exactly.
lack of compassion.
And to our listeners, if you enjoyed today's show, feel free to share it with your friends. And you'll want to visit bizsuccessin15.com/JM. You'll find any links from today's show. You'll be able to download the show and re-listen to at your convenience. You'll also be able to catch up on any past episodes you might have missed. And while you're there, be sure to grab the 10 ways that we sabotage alignment and how to remedy it. So Jeannette, thank you very much for being my guest today. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Cindy. I had a great time with you.
Thank you. And big hugs.
Bye.
And be sure to tune in next week for another episode of Biz Success in 15. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Biz Success in 15. For all links mentioned in today's show and to watch or listen to previous episodes, visit bizsuccessin15.com. Thanks so much for listening, and be sure to tune in next week for another amazing guest.